Good evening, everybody. Alex StarCraft here, bringing you guys another StarCraft 2 commentary without a Zerg player in it. This game is going to be between choyafOu, aka Choya, he's on the team FOU, and LiquidJinro. LiquidJinro is going to be the red Terran in the bottom right-hand corner, and Choya will be the blue Protoss in the top left-hand corner. The map, I cannot remember what the name is because I do not ladder enough, but it is a recent 1v1 addition to the Blizzard ladder. It came in, I guess, what season are we on now? 4 or 5? Whatever the most recent season is, they released it on that season. Now, just a quick overview. What you have is you have a small ramp leads right down to your natural with another ramp right here. It's a bit of a bigger one, and you have a very close third, but it has destructible rocks. So particularly for Zergs, you can't get a fast expo, just run it over here. But because of these rocks, if a Protoss just attacks your third, you can be in a lot of trouble. But because there's not a Zerg in that matchup, and that quick third will most likely not be happening, chances are we won't see that come into play quite as much, but we will for sure see this ramp and this bigger one right here come into play. Now, this is going to be from the LiquidJinro replay pack off of the Team Liquid site. I'm just trying to balance out my channel, because the other day, one of my friends, very nicely of him, he kind of tallied up the number of casts of each game type or of each matchup I had on my channel, and I have a pretty good balance between like ZVZ, PVZ, and PVT or ZVT. So all the Zerg versus X matchups I have a pretty good balance on. I've got something like 5, 7, and 8 of whichever one of those. But as far as the matchups that do not feature Zerg, I do not have too many. As I have said on this channel before, I am a Zerg player, and when he said that, I was initially thinking like, oh, you know, it's not a big deal. If the people want to watch my channel, they want to see Zergs play. Even the Protosses and Terran players who watch my channel, they see how to play against Zerg. They might pick up some stuff from that. But then it occurred to me, it's like, oh, wait, eventually they'd get bored of that. I know I'd get bored of watching only Zerg versus Protoss, for example. So you want to learn something else. So I'm going to be trying to cast some more replays from you guys. I did get my hands on the, of course, both the Jinro replay pack and the more recent Hero replay pack. This is still from the current patch. This is from 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it features games mostly played on the Korean ladder, I believe. But I will be casting a lot of games from both Hero and Jinro. So hopefully you guys will enjoy these. And currently we see Jinro going for a 1 barracks expand here, which is, as I've said before, turning the screen a little by accident there, as I've said before, is one of the most economically powerful builds you can go for in general against a Protoss or any match, any race. I don't really know. I guess that is done against Zerg. I don't think it's done against Terran, but it is one of the strongest economic plays, but of course it is also one of the most risky, because if Choya decides to go for some kind of early pressure, any early gateway pushes, maybe a push with an Immortal or something, Jinro could be in a lot of trouble. But lucky for him, Choya does see this expand coming out. He says, alright, I'm going to just expand as fast as I can as well. So he is going to be getting that expansion down as well, getting out some sentries, which can of course be very good for controlling this map space, even though with just the 1 force field he can't block it. With 2 well-placed ones, he can certainly funnel units. I don't think he can fully block it, but of course he has another one on the way. Once this one has enough energy, he will have enough energy to block off that ramp if he needs to. We have Jinro with the pretty good-sized transfer, of course, dropping the mule here, and I'm sure we'll see him drop this mule as soon as this orbital command finishes, and there it is. I'll just wait for the energy to drop, and you will see it coming then. But for now, we have Jinro throwing down all his barracks. He's getting 3 barracks, and I lied about the quick third. He actually has a third on the way at the 5-minute 30-second mark. That is kind of insane, but you do see Choya setting up a proxy pylon, and this could be really dangerous for Jinro. Of course, Choya is going to be saturating this a little bit, maybe teching up a little bit more, adding on more gateways. But if he decides to go for this gateway pressure, we see all Jinro has, he has 8 Marines. Granted, that's about equal to the number of units that Choya has in usefulness, but that's not a lot. He doesn't have any Marauders. He doesn't have any additional tech. He doesn't even have add-ons. Is he even getting gas? He's just now starting to get his first gas. So we have the huge economic play out of Jinro, and hopefully that pays off. Hopefully he can live past this attack right here. I'd really love to see what a long macro game between these two players would look like. These two very good players, because of course I don't watch a whole lot of Protoss versus Terran. I want to see what the late game may look like. And we do see Choya throwing down these guys as well, just warping them in right here. Zealot's in front. He's going to be running in. The only thing is, of course, the force field is not too good against the bunker, but the Guardian Shield is, so we have him attacking. The Marines being unloaded from the bunker, SCVs being pulled off the line, the force field kind of preventing the retreat. Zealot's doing as much damage as they can. They do kill a few workers, but Choya is going to go ahead. He's going to pull his sentries out before they break the Zealots, because of course the Marines, I believe, can catch a sentry. I think they are faster. What is it, 2.25 versus can I select a Marine that way? No, I cannot. And there's no Marines out of the bunker, so I unfortunately can't see. But we also have Jinro just sending a Marine around here, taking a look at everything, and Choya also getting the fast third. I'm not sure if he saw Jinro's or not. No, he didn't. But he's just saying, alright, well, I'm going to grab a fast third because Jinro went for the fast natural. He's going to go for a macro game, so I'm going to play macro with him as well. And we do have Jinro breaking down these rocks. This is a very important thing to do, as I said, because if the Protoss decides to attack here, it's hard for a Terran army to get all the way over here. And then, of course, if you engage here when the Protoss is here, the positioning is terrible. And Choya is tickling these rocks to death. You see the health dropping pretty slowly. It'll take a little bit, but both these players will be in pretty good shape. Of course, the Terran is a little bit of an advantage when it comes to this, just because he can lift off his command center and just fly it on the high ground over here. And Choya is, at this point, revealing his tech choice, which it seems to be the Twilight Council play, along with a huge Gateway army. He's not going for any kind of Robo, no Stargate, nothing fancy like that. He is just going for the all-out Gateway Zealot overwhelming numbers play. We do see him getting Blink right now, and I would not be at all surprised to see him getting Charge right after this. Charge, I think, is really the stronger Gateway upgrade versus a Terran player. Of course, Blink Stalkers are great for harass, great mobility, but they're still not the best unit against Marauders. Charge Lots, on the other hand, really get up in the Terran's face. When you get the upgrades, they do some good damage. And Jinro does finally find this pylon. He is breaking it down, but there is another pylon hidden right over here. Choya doing a very good job staying on top of all his pylons. He's putting another one over here, so he has multiple points to reinforce. And it looks like the Marine will not see that probe. Will it see the pylon? Yes, it will see the pylon, so Jinro does know that's there, but he does not know about this one. So he will have to see if he breaks this down. Of course, those will play a huge role later in the game if Choya can reinforce that quickly. We have Jinro throwing down a factory with the reactor. He's going to swap that out with the starport so he can start that double medevac production. We also have, oh wow, the production tab being blocked by the panel a little bit. I'll remove that for just a second so we can see all the upgrades he's getting. He's getting the combat shield, concussive shells, and the +1 infantry weapons. I believe for now he only has the one engineering bay, wherever that is. Here it is. He only has the one engineering bay. I would like to see him throw down a second very soon, just because, again, the upgrades on Terran units are so very good, especially from what I understand. What you'll see a lot of players do, yes, here it is with the engineering. You'll get one upgrade, you get the +1 attack or armor. It doesn't make a huge difference. It's the personal preference, or if you have a certain way you want the game to go. And then you finish your second engineering base, so you're constantly you're 1 0 2 1 3 2, etc. We do have the push out coming from Choya. He is a huge number of gateway units here. Charge is about halfway done. I hope he doesn't engage before that is finished, because that would probably be a huge mistake. This is with this many zealots and this few stalkers. Choya does have the supply advantage, but we actually see he has the economic advantages too. Even with the mules of Jinro, Choya has a greater mineral income. But we do see Jinro with the higher gas income. That would indeed explain it, which allows Jinro to, again, get those huge upgrades, that double medevac production, and Choya is just kind of poking around outside the base. I do not think he wants to engage, not before that finishes, but he is going to be running in to the wall of Jinro. Jinro does as much damage as he can, trying to repair that bunker, but his units are blocking it. Throwing down force fields, not allowing these units right here to retreat, but great micro from Jinro, lifting them up in the medevac and just pulling them back right there. And again, I would, of course, with this wall here, the charge wouldn't make a huge difference, but I'd still like to see Jinro wait for that. Jinro doing a very good job with the wall-offs, though, making sure that even with these charge lots, they can't really just go sprinting in. You see them trying to get around, but they can't. The force field's doing a pretty good job keeping the Terran army at bay. They can't actually attack right now, allowing to get Choya a bit better positioning. We do have a flank from some Marines trying to pick off some sentries right there, and just tons of force fields coming down from Choya. They are pretty good force fields. They're keeping the Terran units at bay. Looks like this battle is an advantage for Choya. You can see he does have the slightly higher supply. His army isn't here. Just as I said, Jinro lifting off this command center, just flying into the high ground, not even any damage taken. And now we just have kind of a face-off sitting right here. Neither player obviously wants to attack in this choke. Terrible positioning versus the concave. But it looks like Choya is going to be going for it. He throws down some force fields, forcing these units back. They cannot attack. But the bunker is doing a lot of damage. It has some SCVs repairing it. He's just not able to take that out. He doesn't have enough DPS in the front. The sentries all falling because they are in the front, and that is not good for Choya. He's currently down on supply. There's a lot of marauders being built up, and they do have the 1-1 finish now. Choya forced to pull back for a little bit, do a little reinforcing, making a warping of zealots. Charging in, the zealots finally managed to get up, do a little bit of damage, but they just evaporated before that marine marauder force. And again, Choya has to run. But again, these marauders with the concussive shells, they can catch all the units. Choya warping in, running back, seeing if he can do any damage. He knows running is not too much of an option. He needs to do as much damage as he can right now, but his force is looking smaller and smaller as time goes on. Jinro microing back and forth with a mule, unfortunately, in there, meets its end. I think that's probably mule blood. I guess it's oil, most likely. But yeah, a little break from the action right here, and in this meantime, we see Choya throwing down the expansion right here, just out of 4th, very close to the 3rd, nice positioning on that, and Choya looks like is going to be pulling back. He's not going to be going quite as much for the huge constant aggression play. Now, I'm not sure what Jinro has the Marine doing over here. I guess this was the one he just had scouting for pylons earlier, and we actually have a Stalker running. Little do they know that the other one is there, and they will never cross paths. So unfortunate. But I don't think so, at least. Sorry, I'm not really watching what's happening. No, they will not ever cross paths. And we do have a Soul Zealot just attacking the refinery right there. I would not have noticed if I had not gotten to Jinro's vision for a second. But Choya does have map control right now. He has control of the center, but we have the 3-2 upgrades on the infantry armor and weapons coming out from Jinro. And this is going to give him, I would say, a pretty big advantage. Of course, it's being countered by the High Templar, even though Choya does not have the greatest upgrades. He does have the tech, and we do have a drop coming in up here, picking off a lot of probes. The probes trying to attack. Jinro doing some great little stutter step micro, though, getting them into a good position. 3 zealots being warped in. They are attacking. The Stalkers come out, and they do indeed kill that medevac. So he did manage to kill. They've killed a lot of workers this game. I guess for Choya, it was mostly when he was attacking. Jinro killed quite a few right there himself. And we have Jinro going on the aggressive side now, but that concave is just way too good. He's losing some units. Some get force field. He's forced to attack, but he's going to have to run. His army is not nearly as big as it needs to be to take on this force. But as I said, those charge slots just getting so up in Jinro's business. They are doing so much damage. He's stutter stepping as fast as he can, but he cannot get away from these zealots. And he needs to grab these forces. Good, he does grab those. Goes for a little bit of a flank. It's a little better concave. And so these units can do what they can. He does manage to split his units a little bit there, trying to avoid the damage from the storm, and he does mitigate that, but it seemed to be enough that Choya did take the advantage in this battle. But Jinro is starting to get the ghosts out. Of course, these are great with the EMP for the sentries, the zealots, archons, if there are any. High Templar in particular, of course, there's not a big clump of units right here, so he does not want to use it. He could use snipe on the zealots if he wanted to. And again, I think that was a pretty even engagement, but if we take a look at the resources lost, we see Choya's lost about 3,000 more resources than Jinro, but he also has his 4th expansion up. Of course, Jinro does have the mules, so one could argue that they're a little, probably roughly even, big transfer here from Jinro. Let's take a look at the army tab. Of course, that doesn't actually say all that much. I want to deselect those SCVs. There we go. Army doesn't say all that much. If we take a look at the workers, we see Choya has about 8 workers more. So his army is a little bit smaller, but as I was saying earlier, he has the tech advantage right here. We saw him do that, take out that pretty, well, I shouldn't say bigger Terran force, but he very decisively did kill that Terran force. The High Templar are gaining enough energy. He has enough for probably, for how many High Templar are there? 5 storms? So he's enough for 5 storms right here. That can do a lot of damage. That is 200 damage on this very clumped up Marine Marauder ball. This Marine wanting to be different, going a different direction, or I guess he probably put it there on purpose. But Jinro is getting the pretty high ghost count, and right now both players just kind of sitting back waiting for the next attack to happen. And again, it looks like Jinro, a very bold player, is going to be the aggressor once again, pushing out into the center of the map. He knows what's there, and he does snipe the observer, so that's nice for him. Choya trying to separate off his High Templar to make sure he can indeed get. He's also splitting them so the ghost can't do quite as much damage, but beautiful EMPs from Jinro. He only manages to get one storm off on these units, and now he's just going to have to stutter step back if he can pick off these zealots. He will be in pretty good shape, but you look, these armies are at such low health from doing so much stimming. They're taking so much damage, and this does not look good for Jinro. He's behind on supply by about 20. He does not have very many units. You see him pulling SCVs off the line, trying to make his final stand right here, but these Archons will do so much damage. Again, 2 more great EMPs, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. It doesn't look like it's going to be. There's the GG from Jinro. So a great game there. Looks like Choya did know he was ahead. He did throw up a 5th and 6th expansion while those attacks were coming, while he had map control, just staying in the center. And right there, I couldn't really say. I think what the game really came down to, Jinro obviously had the upgrade advantage. We look at that, the 2-3, which is great on those Marine Marauder balls, but he did not do a whole lot of dropping. Choya got to macro a lot, and Choya definitely got the tech advantages. Of course, he did have 2-1 himself, which is definitely not bad, but he started to get that robo. He did have the blink, he had the charge, and then he had the High Templar. And I'm actually going to go ahead and look back at that battle really quickly, because I don't think that many storms went off, but that army seemed to be at very low health. So I'll just take a look, wait till they push out here. And I'll try and do a little more tactical analysis, lagging a little bit. But we do see as he pushes out, Jinro or Choya sees what happens. He splits his High Templar, so not as many EMPs can go off. But we do see, I'm going to slow this down a little bit more here. Jinro getting off an EMP on these 2 and these 2, so not many storms. No, not any storms going down, but the one right there did still manage to do a lot of damage. And that is kind of what happened. You see Jinro, the units that stemmed, obviously take some health hit. The ones that didn't, stemmed and got stormed, took even more damage. And these again, you see beautiful EMPs on all these clumped up units, but then you see the charge lots just start to get in there, and no matter how much stutter step you do, it's kind of hard to get away from them. So I will be bringing you guys another Jinro game in just a second. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope all of you have a wonderful dinner this evening. It's about 8:30, so if you eat rather late, I hope your meal is awesome. Have lots of fiber.